Welcome to Moving Mom and Downsizing Dad, the podcast that prepares you for one of life's toughest yet inevitable moments, stepping in when your parents need you most. Hosted by Chris Spade, a senior real estate specialist with Keller Williams Realty. We'll dive deep into more than just moving. We're talking smart financial planning, making tough decisions with confidence, and strategies to avoid being caught in crisis mode. Join us for real stories, expert insights, and actionable steps to stay ahead of the curve. Now, here's your host, Chris Spade.
Well, hey friends, welcome back to Moving Mom and Downsizing Dad, the show where we cut through the overwhelm and share real-world stories to help Gen Xers guide their parents through life's next chapter without losing their sanity. I'm Chris Spade, your host from Keller Williams Realty, San Diego Metro. Today, I'm talking with my friend and client, Dave. Now, a few weeks ago, we wrapped up the sale of his parents' longtime home in Carlsbad. Now, Dave and I only needed a few Zoom calls to get the deal done, but he spent months in the trenches, helping calm nerves, juggling paperwork to make sure that his parents landed safely in their new place. Now, in this episode, Dave is going to get candid about what he actually learned, the conversations he had, the emotional curveballs that no checklist is going to warn you about, and navigating the move. So, if you're staring down a garage full of memories or just want a game plan before that day comes, Dave is going to give you his real-world advice. Dave, welcome to Moving Mom and Downsizing Dad.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks for having me on.
Well, I appreciate it. So let's just start out. What did you learn about setting realistic timelines once your parents decided it was time to move?
Yeah, it's funny. The one kind of phrase that my mom and I would keep going back and forth, and my dad's in the picture too, obviously, but we kept saying to each other, it's always something. It's always something. And when you're buying or selling a house, it's always something on a good day, even in the most normal of circumstances. But when you're dealing with elderly parents or just people who just need more time, it's always something. There's going to be something that comes up. Someone needs to go to a doctor's appointment at a certain time. Or, you have the plumber come out and fix something. Oh, well, we have to work around those time frames. Again, those are normal things that happen on an everyday transaction, everyday kind of thing. But then there's stuff like, oh, someone gets sick. Oh, someone needs to go to the hospital. Oh, this is happening. And there's never enough time to be able to deal with some of these things. And it's very frustrating very fast because there's always something to be done. And there's always something going on that's going to stop you from doing it and having to work around schedules. Obviously, Chris, you and I have been through a number of different transactions and we get each other, we work well. But at the same time, like being flexible is always the most important part, both from a client perspective and from an agent perspective as well, because it's always something.
Yep. Oh, there's something's always going to pop up. And I remember telling your mom, I'm like, listen, I'm on your timeline. If we have to slide the scale, it's fine. Don't worry about it. Yeah. And I kept saying that over and over again to her. If we have to slide it, don't you worry. I got you.
Yeah, and over time, as you do get into negotiating the deal and stuff like that, it does, I think, help everyone to understand kind of what both sides are working with. And when like you've got a family on one side, you've got elderly parents on another side, everyone kind of understands and can kind of work hopefully better together to come to a deal. There's always going to be times that does not happen, or that the other party doesn't have patience whatsoever for what's going on, but this is real estate, and sometimes you just got to have that human factor of like, okay, what fire am I going to put out today?
Yeah.
I've got this sign that I love. This is fine. This is fine,
and it's a sitting down having a cup of coffee, and there's a fire around you. I love it. I love it.
It's always a reminder, what am I dealing with today?
Yeah, exactly. So looking back, what surprised you the most about the emotional side of helping your parents let go of their longtime home?
Well, it's interesting because I didn't grow up in this house. Like I was a senior in high school when my parents bought this house. We actually closed on 9/11. So if anything, like a lot of those memories kind of come to mind. Seeing my parents get older and having memories about things that have happened in this house and parties that they've thrown, and just the knickknacks that they've gathered through living in a place for over 20 years. It does kind of take a toll when when you start to see some of these things, or you're helping your parents go through things and trying to figure out what we can take, what if we're downsizing, there's going to be stuff that's going to be thrown out. Um, a lot of those emotions come back, and
Mm-hmm.
it will hit you in the most surprising ways, because sometimes you're seeing stuff about your own childhood, things that you're trying to convince your parents, well, like I appreciate that you held on to this for me, for our future family, but I'm not going to want that. Or
Yeah. Yeah.
or furniture that and I trying to give away furniture that's been in the family for a while also has some emotional ties attached to it too, and
Yeah.
dealing with not only your own emotions but then your parents' emotions too. It takes a toll. It does take a
Mhm.
toll, and sometimes you get home after dealing with helping to pack, helping to move, whatever, and you just kind of sit back and okay, all right. Yeah,
Well,
whether it's your stuff or your parents' stuff too. I mean, getting rid of stuff is hard for a lot of folks, and
yeah. Oh,
you
for sure.
en masse. And if you're downsizing, you're not only just trying to figure out how we can put stuff into a different box. You're also really looking at throwing stuff out too.
Yeah. Yeah. Because we did have a big dumpster there, didn't we? We had like a 40-footer at one point.
And
Um,
I got to tell you, like one of the best decisions that we ever made. And realistically, dumpsters are cheap in the
mhm.
grand scheme of selling a house. We got a dumpster for like $300 or $400 from the trash company,
Yeah.
and rather than trying to fit in one trash can everything that you want to throw out, it also makes it like, okay, we're going to throw it in the dumpster, it's gone, it's
Hmm.
done.
Hmm.
We are not going to try to like, oh well, we should put it in the neighbor's recycling next week. No, it's gone, it's done. And
Hmm.
if you need another, like if you call them and say, I need you to take this dumpster and give me a new one, they do it in 24 hours.
Yeah.
It's the easiest 300, $400 and best $300 or $400 you could possibly spend.
Yeah. Yeah. So that kind of like leads me into my next question is what did you learn about balancing your parents' wishes with the practicalities of preparing the house for sale? Because there was and we'll talk about this in a little bit, but we brought in, a declutter expert, and we had to bring in a few experts to help out, right? We didn't do it all on our own.
Well, for me, the biggest thing was that I am no longer local, and a lot of these things I would definitely help my parents out too. It becomes very helpful. I keep saying that word, to have other people come in, and whatever their kind of responsibility or their jobs are. You as an individual, if like I'm an only child, so for me being able to do all of that stuff in the first place is not realistic. Having other people, again, regardless of what they are, my parents, longtime housekeepers, they provided assistance more than just housekeeping. In this past few months while we were selling the house, they were helping to move stuff. They were helping to get rid of stuff. They were helping find people to take stuff. Leverage sometimes, like leverage other people to help. And one of the biggest things I've learned in business and in general is that you can never do stuff on your own. And
Yep.
this isn't just in business. This is also it's selling a house. It's buying a house. It's buying a car. Like always have more people on your side than fewer, and
Yep.
never be afraid to ask for help. If you
Yeah.
have people, I understand it's human tendency. It's also kind of a guy thing. Like I don't want to ask for help. I don't need help.
Yeah. Yeah.
Get past it, because there will never be enough time. And even if you have a 90-day escrow, if you're dealing with 3 months and you think 90 days will be plenty to do X, Y, Z, it will never be enough time.
Nope.
A lot of
Yep.
people, they want to do 30-day escrows or sooner or faster. And then you're scrambling. You're
Yep.
scrambling because in our case, for instance, we had to get the house ready to be listed. And that's one thing. Then when you're under contract, then it's suddenly you have 30 days to get everything else that's in the closets, everything else that's everywhere out.
Hmm.
It's enough of a challenge to get ready to be listed and doing maintenance and visible work and paint and any other repair. And then it's a whole other thing to, in 30 days, get everything out and
Yep.
find places to put it.
Yeah.
You can never have enough time.
Yeah. And you were down a lot between your home in Washington and down here in San Diego. You were down here quite a bit. A
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah. I was, Alaska Airlines loved me very much.
So, from a logistics standpoint, because you had to go back and forth, what was the single biggest lesson about the whole sorting, donating, selling of all these decades of belongings? Because we did have some stuff from your previous house that your parents, not your house, but the house they sold in this house that we still had to get rid of, and donate.
Well,
So
again, the best $400 you could spend is a dumpster. I cannot emphasize that enough. I can say it 1,000 times because it eliminates any sort of hesitation. It just goes in there and it's done. From a logistics standpoint, I mean, and going back to the idea, also having more people and having friends or other people that your parents are comfortable with, uh, step in and be like, hey, do you want me to help you find someone to take this piece of furniture? Do you want me to, like, yes, say yes to the dress, say yes to the house, whatever. And having other people help you get rid of stuff is amazing. My mom had somebody come in and help and put stuff on Facebook Marketplace, and then it was gone. Some of these things, just getting rid of it and starting to kind of come up with a pattern. I would come down a lot on the weekends for like a long 4-day weekend, and we knew what time Goodwill closed. We knew what time the DAV closed, and they were different schedules and different days. So we'd fill up a car, take it there, or fill up a car and take stuff to storage. Fill up a car and do this kind of one car at a time, or even renting a truck. For people that want the kind of bigger package of movers, you're still going to have to consolidate stuff, and you're still going to have to figure out what you're going to get rid of, because if you're downsizing, your movers aren't going to do that for you. The movers are going to take where it needs to go.
yeah, yeah. Well, let's talk about money. So what did you learn about budgeting for the move, the updates, any professional help versus trying to DIY everything? It sounds like you've got the position of leverage. You pay for the leverage. It's worth it, every step of the way.
Yeah. And again, like, we were real fortunate to have a lot of close family and a lot of close friends who really stepped up to help make a lot of this happen. So that took a lot of the cost out. Movers going to cost you more than you think.
Mm-hmm.
And for your big furniture, your big stuff, you're going to want to hire movers.
Yeah.
That's just it. They are more expensive than you think. It's going to take more time than you think. It's going to be just more involved than you think. But from a budget perspective, uh, budget more. Just budget more than you think you're going to need, because you are going to need it. When you're selling a house, and as we all keep saying, it's always something that's going to come up. And whether it's doing repairs that you don't even realize that you have, because you'll do your inspection, your pre-inspection, but then the buyers, for instance, will see something else that needs to be fixed. Oh well, we got to take some money to be able to take care of that. It's been easier when you're, I think, selling a house than it is perhaps when you're buying a house. But there's just going to be a lot of things that you don't even think about that you're going to need
Yeah.
that money for.
Yeah.
Then repairs come up, or things come up. That's not unique, I think, to downsizing or to dealing with elderly, working with elderly parents, but it's always going to cost more.
So let's talk about preserving some of those family memories, right? Because you said, you got to dump some of it, keep some of it, take some of it, put it in storage. What did you learn about preserving family memories, and, while you're letting stuff go? Because I know that was a challenge, that we dealt with.
Yeah.
How did you help your mom and dad work through that?
To a certain degree, like ironically, taking a picture of, there was a flag from the 1984 Olympics. I was at the 1984 Olympics. I was this big,
You were
but
tiny.
I remember this flag. My parents had this, and it was in the garage. And had they looked at it in a long time? No, but it was very meaningful. We started, and it took a while to get to this point where it's like, I don't know how to describe this, but when you're so kind of opposed to throwing stuff away because there's so many memories attached to it, and you start working on this, and especially if you have a deadline and you keep saying, we have a deadline, we have to be out of this house by this time, slowly that urge to hold on to stuff does kind of loosen up.
Mm-hmm.
And by the time, I think the last week before we closed, we came across this flag that I'm talking about, and we were able to throw it away because we took a photo of it. And my mom took a photo of me holding this. And to her, like, that's almost a way to be able to hold on to this memory and the memories about that without actually holding on to the physical thing.
Yeah.
Over time, then you're going to have 1,000 photos. 1,000 photos on your phone are a lot easier to do with than 1,000, knickknacks and items and stuff like that
Yep.
are going to go to storage and you're never going to look at it, or you're going to try to hold on to it and put it in some sort of corner in your smaller place.
I'm going to jump to a question further down because yeah, and you kind of answered this, but what did you learn about protecting your parents from decision fatigue during, all of this? Because you have to, first of all, make decisions on what to keep and what to get rid of. Then we have the decisions when we're in the escrow process and we're dealing with the paper and all of that, because there were a couple times we were on the phone pretty late, and yeah, there's a lot of decision fatigue. So how did you help with that?
Well, one thing is good communication and trust. I don't know that every family is different, has different dynamics. Some people have brothers and sisters.
Absolutely.
In a way, like having multiple siblings is really helpful because that just helps spread some of the load. And also, if there's some, I don't know, you can kind of get one of your siblings to help. In my case, my parents and I have a very, very good communication. We trust each other. We have been through a lot together. And so we're able to have very frank conversations sometimes. I also, and I think many children of senior parents know, sometimes like at a certain point of the day, like that's not a good time to have some conversations.
Yeah.
Mornings, in my experience, mornings are better for having conversations that require explanation and cognitive decision making, stuff like that. That's just something that you got to figure out for yourself with your own relationships with your parents. And ultimately, sometimes you do get to a roadblock where they're just like, I just don't know. Well, we have to make a decision on this today.
Uh-huh.
And because of that trust, a lot of times my parents were fortunate to be like, okay, whatever you think is best,
Hmm.
because it was
Yeah.
at that point. The emotional aspect of getting rid of stuff and making those kinds of choices, um, that can be even more difficult. That can be the hardest part
Hmm.
because that notion of just, I don't want to throw it away. I don't want to get rid of it. It can just be completely overpowering. The other thing, and kind of going, I think we're going to talk about this later too. In my case, like I've got full power of attorney and I'm a trustee.
Yep.
Having those two things and having the ability to, not that you're going to make decisions for them. That's not what it's about.
Correct.
When your
Right.
parents are fully there, when your parents are they've got their full cognitive stuff there, the ability to be able to sign documents or to be able to execute decisions that you have collectively made together is a giant time saver.
Yeah.
Um, the, Years ago, we didn't have DocuSign. Now, so much of real estate is done with DocuSign.
Yep.
It's amazing. That's easy for us.
Yep.
For a lot of older folks, DocuSign is still complicated, and they'd rather do it with a pen and paper. But that
Yep.
time does not allow for that, unfortunately, when you're dealing with rapid kind of decision making. So having the ability to make or act on those decisions yourself is also a great way to be able to keep your parents or whoever you're working with from getting overloaded with decisions. Um, and again, I would never suggest say like I'm just going to make this decision for myself. No, you work with the people. You work with your family. There's no other way to do it. And the fastest way to break someone's trust within your family is to do that.
Yeah.
Communicate,
Absolutely.
communicate, communicate, but being able to make those decisions is absolutely priceless.
So let's talk about, we've kind of gone through this process when it came to finding the next living situation, because the next living situation was found even before the house closed.
Yeah.
What key criteria did you learn that really mattered to your parents and maybe weren't the things that weren't on your radar that you found out were on your radar?
Ironically, like finding a place for them to live was completely their own doing. And while some people might want, as they age, to move from a house into a condo or something like this, my parents opted to move into a retirement independent living facility, and they had chosen this one. And by the time like they were almost ready to sign documents, they're like, "Oh yeah, maybe we should have Dave come take a look at this and see what he thinks."
Yeah.
It was a relief in a way because that was one aspect of it. And although that in itself can be stressful because when you're doing something like that, there's a whole myriad of other paperwork things you have to fill out and uh, documentation and medical stuff that you have to go through.
Hmm.
But making that decision, and we'd actually been talking about this for a while, making that decision about whether or not we look at a condo or we look at a independent living facility, really kind of that's going to be something that every family has to decide, and whether or not that's appropriate. Ultimately, they settled on this place. And I don't want to say settled because it's a great place. They decided
Right.
to pick this place because it's got the full continuum of care. And as they age and they need more and more help, it's all in the same place. Rather than saying like, oh, okay, we're going to move into a condo, which might work for a while, but then you're talking about buying a condo and then eventually selling a condo
Yep.
and then moving into assisted living or memory care
Yep.
or skilled nursing, whatever it is later down the road. Instead, you're kind of getting that out of the way now, and you know exactly what you're going to be looking at in terms of costs longer term.
Yeah. And your parents moved into a great place. Their apartment's gorgeous.
It's fantastic. We're very fortunate that they were able to move into there.
Well, let's talk about the legal side. And on the legal side and financial side, what lessons stand out about the documents, the trust, the power of attorneys? We talked a little bit about that. And what do you think, if you were going to give other families advice, what should they button up before they start this process?
Have everything in a trust. Get power of attorney. Have all those things done before you need it.
Hmm.
I cannot emphasize enough how important it is to have that buttoned up tomorrow, yesterday, 3 weeks ago. Like the challenge with doing it when it's too late is that you can't start if someone's mind isn't there, then it becomes a very much a legal issue then to become a
Correct.
trustee or set stuff up. You
Yeah.
want to do it if your parents potentially might have memory issues or cognitive issues, you want to do it long before that even becomes a problem. And it also kind of as you're dealing with longer term stuff, everyone understands whose responsibility is what.
Yep.
It's not like, okay, what can I do? What can I do? I can't remember what I can do. And then you
Hmm.
have to go find papers and stuff like that. Then on top of everything else, then you're going to a trust attorney uh, in the middle of whatever fire you're putting out that day.
Yep.
That, if anything, is the one thing that should be done early in the conversation.
Yep.
Uh, if you if you don't have a trust, you need to have your house in a trust. Period. End of statement. I could recommend a great trust attorney in San Diego, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I got one too. But and let me just also say that uh, just because you're meeting with a trust attorney isn't like they can set up a trust right then and there. It takes a few days, right? It's not, it depends on how busy they are, and there's revisions, and before everybody signs
yeah.
and everything's binding. So that's the other thing. This could take a month, 6 weeks, 2 months.
If you don't have an existing trust, and I'm not a lawyer, I
Correct.
call myself
None
a
of us
trust
are.
expert, but I've been through this a couple times now. And if you have a trust set up, it's very easy to amend it.
Yeah.
And
Oh, yeah.
you can your attorney can pretty quickly whip out changes and get that done. If you're setting stuff up for the first time,
It
it
takes a minute.
becomes a bigger deal because you not only have to get the house retitled, you also then have to go to the banks that your
Hmm.
parents have. Many times those
Insurance.
banks want you, all the people on the trust, to be there physically to sign.
Yeah.
Uh, Kind of go back to the finance thing. Find a bank that will work with you. Uh, I discovered very quickly that, and I'm not sure what to cover this, but Chase will require every person on this account or on these accounts to be there physically at the same time. And if you're trying to deal
Mm.
with 25,000 things, that's just not going to work. We
Oh,
found we found a great banker at U.S. Bank who worked with us, who did a lot of stuff with DocuSign, who was willing to understand the situation and get approvals from his management to be able to basically make whatever we needed to happen because they're also interested in earning our business. I'm sure there's other banks that are great too, but finding the right bank to deal with this kind of stuff, and especially if you have power of attorney and you're a trustee of your parents' trust, longer term, having that relationship is so invaluable. Cannot recommend it enough.
Yeah, for sure. So if you had a do-over, what early conversations with your parents would you start sooner, knowing what you know now?
I've actually thought about this, and I'm not sure that there really, in our instance, were conversations that I wish I had earlier. We had already worked on modifying the trust to be able to support this kind of transaction. We'd already discussed a lot of these things. And I can't tell you one thing that I said, wow, I wish we'd done this earlier, because we did. And that's also one of the reasons why I'm saying, if we hadn't done our work with the trust, if we hadn't done our work with the banks and stuff like that prior, that would have been the one thing that would have just been a nightmare to deal with.
Hmm.
Getting your parents, and it wasn't an issue in this case, but I can also imagine that for, there's a lot of families out there who they don't want to move. And my parents didn't want to move either, but they also realized, like, this needs to happen. It needs to happen before it's too late, frankly.
Correct.
If you have parents that you're thinking are elderly, that that don't want to move because this has been their house for however many years, you need to start kind of loosening them up to getting to that point. No one wants to move into, like, oh, they're going to move into the old folks home, and that becomes then another sticking point. We were fortunate enough that my parents recognized um, what needed to happen for their long-term health, for the long-term support and long-term care
Yeah. Before there was a crisis.
before, because
Because
there will always be a crisis of some
yeah, yeah, and I mean there'll be these series of little crises, but before it gets to the point where you have to like literally put out a fire in a matter of days, right?
yeah.
So, all right. So let me ask you, selfishly, working with me as your agent, what did you learn about the role of working with a specialized agent and how that can play in smoothing out a senior move?
Well, you and I are fortunate enough that we've now worked on 3 transactions together. You and I
Yep.
work very well as a team. We just kind of get each other, and I think we just have a way that works well. This is the first time, though, that we've really dealt with a situation like this. The other
Yep.
2 times were very much like you and I just handled it and made it happen.
Yep.
Um, your expertise in being able to find people to help was probably the most, that, and your patience, the patience of Job,
Well,
geez,
thank you.
to be able to help make some of these things happen was just absolutely invaluable. And having an expert who realizes what it's going to take to get some of this stuff done. Um, when you're dealing with elderly folks, there is sometimes, like, they need more time. That is
Hmm.
that is probably the one thing. They'll always need more time to get something done, to go to the store, to do whatever the simple things are that takes people who are younger perhaps less time. When you work in this kind of area, Chris, you are very, very good at it. You are understanding. You do not show frustration, even though I'm sure there's times you're just like,
A little
just
bit.
sign the form
In the car. In the car.
in the car. But and that's just it. I don't know what specialized training there is or whatnot to work with seniors and elderly folks, but certainly there are, I think, are certain innate qualities within an agent, within a person, to be able to kind of work with these things. And Chris, like, you have that. You have all of those things. You have the experience in knowing exactly how to make a transaction happen and get the best deal. But you also have the experience and just the human side of you that understands patience. And just, okay, all right, okay, Irene, let's just sign the form.
It was no, your parents were like so awesome. They were just so awesome, and the highlight was when I went to go visit them with the file, and I took that picture and I sent you a picture of the file,
Yep.
and she says to me, she goes, "Well, what am I going to need out of here? Should I tag it?" And I pulled the thing out and I put the closing statement on top. I go, "I promise you, this is the only thing you will need out of here." And but it made her happy, right? Like
Yeah.
these are things we have to make them happy. Dave, is there anything else that I didn't ask you that you want to mention?
Well, as we started off the show, like, it's always something. There's always going to be something. We're never going to be able to completely list every kind of situation that might come up. But patience, understanding, and also understanding that it's always something. Be prepared with your finances and with the legalities of things. That if it wasn't for that, this would have taken a lot longer. And basically, we were prepared. We did our homework. We did the things we needed to do to be able to support making this transaction as easy as possible. If your viewers are just thinking that their parents may want to move or sell their house or downsize or whatever the situation is, start having those conversations as early as you can.
Yep.
Because trying to spring a whole bunch of things on at the same time is very overwhelming for seniors and elderly folks. It does not work out well when you're trying to do 5 things at once, when you're trying to set up a trust, doing bank accounts, trying to do an engagement with you, trying to find movers, trying to find buyers, trying to find all these things. You got to space it out. And if the more time that you have to space stuff out, the easier it is going to be on your relationship. The easier it is going to be on your parents or your family or whoever, because it's not all at the same time.
Baby steps.
One big thing we learned: don't try to do 5 things at once. It's not going to happen, or if it does, it's not going to be pretty.
Yeah, no. Dave, thank you for keeping it real and sharing about what you've learned. I appreciate it. So if today's chat sparked any questions about your own family's transition, shoot me a DM. I'm always happy to brainstorm. Don't forget to follow and rate and review Moving Mom and Downsizing Dad on your favorite podcast app so more families can find this info right when they need it. Until next time, keep the conversation open. Thank you so much for listening, and I will catch you next time.